My to-do list of fixing jobs on the cars has got way too long and out of control, so we're going to make a start with catching up on some of the backlog of jobs that need doing. And we're going to start with this one. So this little honey is my BMW E30 320i. And I bought it in the summer of 2019 and I just got it all running nicely and new tyres on it because it had a mixture of summers and winters and different sizes and all sorts and all up and together. And then I managed to lose the one and only key to it, which meant no ignition and no doors and everything. Luckily, I'd left it unlocked. So all I need to do is to get it mobile again. First thing we got to do is take the steering wheel off. So this badge just comes off with the attentions of a fine screwdriver. The rubber around here is reasonably robust, so that doesn't damage it too much. And then it's just a case of getting a 22mm socket on there and cranking off the bolt that holds the steering column in place. And then I'm going to put these bits on the dashboard here in order so that I know what order to put them back again, because I think that might matter. Getting the steering wheel off, it's always a bit stiff, so rather than sort of hammer it and hit yourself in the face with it, it's worth actually probably just putting this nut back on. There we go. Just turn that slightly and then there, that's loosened it. It's caught on the steering lock, so what I'm going to need to do, I'm not going to go into too much detail on this for security reasons, but basically you need to drill through and get access to the pin of the lock and be able to push that down. You can find online the exact details of how to do it. You'll see when I get the wheel off where the button is, so I'm not giving away too much of a secret, but that is the next thing to do. So with the steering lock disengaged, I can just pull the wheel off, and there we have access to this upper shroud and lower shroud that need to come off, and then I can change the mechanism under here, which is the ignition steering lock. And here we are with the ignition lock removed. It's held on with a shear bolt, which is a special kind of bolt that has a head on it that shears off under a certain amount of torque, so that you can put it on, but you can't then take it off again. So you have to cut a slot in it with a Dremel with a fine cutting disc attached, and then you can undo it with a screwdriver, which is what I've done here. If you look here, you can see that bolt goes through into the steering column and locks the whole thing in place. I can actually reuse that one and tighten it up with a screwdriver in the slot. So the first thing to notice is that these are slightly different. The part number is the same. They're both 1153 410.0, 1143 53 410.0. But the shape is a little bit different. So you've got this bit here that you haven't got. You've got that instead on here, and you've got these sort of, I don't know, what do you call those, fins on the ignition barrel that you haven't got here. So I think this is off a facelift model probably. I don't know whether it will fit. The other thing to notice is that this horn switch has got a figure 8 crack in it. So we're going to need to try and super glue that up. I would replace it with the old one, except it's riveted on with these kind of weird rivets, so I'm not sure that's going to be a goer. I think repairing this one's probably better. It kind of works, it's a bit loose. It's an 8 out of 10, I think, as a successful used buy, but there we are. Let's do a trial fit of this. That way up, that way round. Before anybody messages me, none of those keys are the right keys. I'm not that dumb. So it just slides on, and you have to push it well home, and there's no positive location, so you've kind of got to just feel when you can get that shear bolt into place there, and that's That's about as solid as it was, I think. I'm going to reuse that slot I cut. Then I can tighten that up nicely. There we go. Yes. Lovely. I also need to reconnect these switches. So the stalks go on these bolts, and same the other side, and the ignition switch goes on here as well. This is the actual ignition switch, and that's just a push fit onto there. Hopefully. It's a bit fiddly getting it in. Come on. And I'm going to put the camera down while I do that. It was a two-handed job and involved some swearing, but there you can see the ignition switch is located. Focus. There we go. There it is. Located on the lugs. Stalks next. They just go on there. Nothing too clever here. Definitely find it easier to locate these switches on the bottom bolt first, because that gives a more limited arc of movement, so you can line up the top one, which is harder to see and hold and get at. Nice and tight. There we go. Rattly stalks. Right, just wrestle this into place. These want to go behind there, which involves, well, I don't know what it involves. Violence. The Haynes manual just helpfully says, oh, this just lifts up and flips out. It so doesn't. Ow. Crucial test before I go too much further reassembly. Oh, look at that. Battery's disconnected, so I'm not surprised it's not starting. But we have movement on the ignition lock. Woohoo. Right, the next job is the steering wheel. Spring and washer and circlip. First, where's my circlip? Pliers. These aren't exactly the right tool for this job. They're really for those circlips that have got little holes in. There we go, well, it'll do. So I need to reconnect the horn switch. There we go. And I need to do something about that split. So this is a quality professional job, so I'm going to use, I've got a choice between cable tie and gaffer tape, because I haven't got any super glue, so I think there's plenty of clearance. So I'm going to do a cable tie. Oh, hey. That worked well. I think as long as that doesn't fall off, that's not going anywhere. We'll nip that off with some pliers. And then I can refit this lower thing. Surprisingly difficult, this. Oh, no. So with the wheel straight ahead, I can line up the wheel, steering wheel. There we go. And that's on. And then refit that bit and that bit, and then the nut, which I need to get on straight and give it a little bit of a turn so it's not cross-threaded. Tighten that up. Nice and tight. There we go. A little bit of a squeak there. We'll see how that goes. Oops. Don't want a VW hubcap. We want a BMW roundel. That's nice and straight, and that just pushes in. Job done. Now then, ignition. indicators. Oh, there's a bulb loose somewhere. Wipers and horn. Marvellous.